Afternoon, folks.
I know I get myself on the naughty step here. Me, it's my fault. I kept them talking, so sorry about
Better put this cigarette down, no smoking during the show, David. Maybe some kids watching.
that. Okay, right, anyway.
Maybe some kids watching. Get Facebook on board.
Hi guys, how you doing? Expecting for there go.
It's not giving me the option of making this thing bloody public.
They know you do it, David. Something like that. Thanks, Alex.
See me have taken it away.
Is there any chance I can get a job working with you?
Nah, I can't do it. It would appear I can't make these Facebook videos public anymore, David.
Right. Well,
don't get me wrong, my friends on Facebook will still get the notification. And there's 4,500 of them. There's only about half a dozen of them watch right enough, you know.
What you're going to have to do, the answer to it is do a post about it and let the post run about 4 or 5 different times so there's a chance of everybody seeing it. Tell them to actually come on to YouTube to see the actual program. So
right.
So if any of you have got friends that are still using Facebook, please take note of that. Try and get them to migrate onto YouTube for watching the program because, again, Facebook are just playing silly buggers. Again,
aye. Again. The audience function on my videos is gone.
Yeah.
So it is. Well, we'll give it a refresh and see if that makes any difference.
Don't forget that nowadays the Facebook are now using per se, inverted commas, an artificial intelligence to do a lot of their instant programming. So if the management's idea is get him, then the artificial intelligence will get him. What's that? Hi, Barbara.
They say it's not letting me go. It's not letting me check. Sure. Hi, Karen. Tuning in with your wee mammy, are you? Was that Karen? Aye.
Yeah, and Barbara as well. But
Karen, I got that box, that gift. Thank you very much, Karen.
Yeah.
Also got your postcode, so there'll be something coming your way.
We know you live now. Right.
A wee thank you coming your way, Karen. Okay. Right, David, I guess we better go on. First Minister's is today very subdued because of the rules today with by-elections.
Can you take that? Right.
So because of the campaigning, the First Minister was subdued. The Tory Russell Finlay, he went on the SNP failure on crime and police numbers, and to back up his silly statement, he quoted 2 gangsters being shot in Spain. John told him that his premise was flawed and that there was more gangsters in prison than what there was shot in Spain, and that the work of the Scottish crime campus, well, there at Gartcosh, is working furiously on organised crime.
So let's see if I get this right. Right, the leader of the Conservative group in Holyrood has tried to make an SNP bad story of 2 idiots, 2 thugs that were shot in Spain.
Aye.
Am I right?
Aye, basically.
And what time is the psychiatrist coming to see him?
I don't know, but what's even funnier is, you know, they keep talking about the SNP's record on crime, as long as they want, and police numbers. Police numbers are still up there higher than what they ever were before the SNP came to power. And the crime is now on an 18-year low or something like that.
Hang on. Is Inspector Clouseau, sorry, John Swinney, is he in charge of the police operations, or is it? No, he isn't. Who actually works out all the police strategies and all the rest of it? It's the police.
That's correct.
You know.
Anyway, but as you say, bringing up two guys getting shot in Spain, fuck's sake. Right, Anna Sarwar said the SNP wanted to downgrade a neonatal unit at Wishaw General Hospital. And John said, and that would force families to have to travel long distances for treatment, neonatal treatment. And John says, don't be daft. What changes were made at the unit were made after expert advice. Basically, the people in the unit advised them that we need to make this change so the unit to keep working properly.
Yeah.
So, that was a lot of bollocks. Alex Cohan went on beaches and sewage discharges from the state-run Scottish Water. And John said they were working on making progress on water quality, and he was talking about beach water quality because that's what the sewage is being discharged into. He wasn't talking about drinking water quality, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Oh, here we go, another one. That's John, the truck driving legend.
Yes.
Still driving God.
Thank you, John.
Afternoon, both Davies. Remember those in Hamilton, Stonehouse and Larkhall today who hasn't voted to get out and vote SNP. Don't let in the dregs of political parties in. Anyway, here's funds for the food banks. Thank you, John.
Just while we're on what John was saying, right? If you live in that area and if you have neighbours, just go and chat with them and say, have you voted yet? Doesn't matter what they vote, so long as they all get out to vote. That's the main thing.
Correct. Right, Alex Hamilton got a question this week, and he went, as I say, he went on the beaches and the water quality. But John's saying they're working on the discharges. Now here in Scotland, what happens is we get a lot of rain. Eventually, the sewage systems can't cope, so they're going to discharge some of it out into the sea. Simple as that.
But that's sweet discharge.
Aye.
That isn't from your lavvy. That's called a sweet discharge, right? At the end of the day, the worst that can happen is it's what comes off the land. But if we talk about arable land where you've got fertiliser, that hits the seawater. That's bad.
Aye. And the Greens asked a question about ferry services, I believe, but that was later on because there were only three main questions, and it wasn't the Greens' turn. It was the Lib Dems' turns.
Well, right. We understand that the new ferries from Turkey have been going through their paces in terms of doing their sea trials.
That's right.
Prior to being put into service.
Yes.
So.
Right, let's move on, shall we? The BBC stick two Labour stooges on the by-election debate night programme last night.
Yeah.
Now, on the programme, let me finish, was Labour MSP Paul McSweeney, Labour peer Lord Haughey, SNP councillor Susan Aitken, Tory MSP and one brain cell Bailey's counterpart in the Tory party, Annie Wells.
Yeah.
And an artist stroke photographer called David. Is this or something like that? No, this.
Hang on, so I'm trying to find it for you.
Now, David, why the fuck didn't they just get the candidates for a by-election on?
Well, they've been trying to get the Labour candidate to come and attend anything, right? Any of the hustings meetings or whatever, right? And this
There's a reason why. There's a reason why Labour don't want anybody to see him. Well, I'll show you the reason why.
Go on then.
Okay, we'll do. I'll just find the video.
By the way, the artist, the photographer, is called David Eustace.
Eustace, sorry. Thank you. Right, hold on, we'll share this muppet. The invisible man for the Labour Party, and why they don't want why they don't want him to be accosted by the press. Wait, you see this.
You're probably speaking to quite a lot of older people. Are you getting any anger from them that Labour have scrapped their winter fuel allowance?
Yes, there is
What do you
some
say to
concern.
them?
Well, there's some concern, and Scottish Labour have said from day one that we will reinstate the winter fuel allowance.
But at Westminster you've scrapped it, so again you'd have to mitigate what your government did at Westminster.
But there were hard decisions to be made when the Labour government came into power in Westminster. There was a.
So you think they were right to scrap it?
There was a 20
Do you think they were right to scrap it?
There was a 20
Do you think they
billion
were right to scrap
pound
it?
black hole.
Do you think they were right to scrap the winter fuel payment for pensioners?
There were hard decisions to take.
Do you think they were right?
Well, there were very hard decisions to take.
Do you think they were right to do it? It was a hard decision. Do you think they made the right decision?
Well, they took it based on the decisions, the circumstances they'd inherited.
So you back the Chancellor, you back the Prime Minister on it?
They had very hard decisions
And
to
you
make.
back them?
I totally think that the decisions they had to make were based on the previous government's
And you back
mismanagement
them?
of the.
And you back them on it?
On the doorsteps here, people are.
But you back the government, you back the Prime Minister and the Chancellor. You can just tell me yes or no.
Well, I wasn't involved in the decision, and this is a Scottish Parliament election, right? If I was a member of Parliament.
Right, I'll take it down. Anyway, that's
Yeah,
the
you
idiot
know.
that's running.
Yeah.
That is the idiot that's running for Labour. That's why they don't want this guy showing up at debates and things like that. And apparently he's beating his bahookie leathered on the doorstep as well, constantly. So that's why they don't want him.
And that's also why they're now saying it's a two-horse race between SNP and Reform.
And Reform. That's right. That was reported this morning. It's a straight shootout between the SNP and Reform. But that is the level that Labour's at. That's why they're having to bring up people from England to Stone and Scottish constituencies, because they have no talent in their party. None.
Well, it's not even just a case of no talent. It's a case of who the hell wants to be an MP for a government that's basically killing MSP for a party that's effectively killing people throughout the UK. Simple as that.
Right. But it's interesting that, as you say, David, that panel wasn't balanced at all. It's never balanced. It's always 4 unionists or 3 unionists against 2 non-unionists.
We know that, but they still have this air that they try to be unbiased. This particular one, right before an election, a by-election like this, and they bring in 2 Labour people. You think to yourself,
what's interesting is everybody there was higher ranked than the SNP member.
That's right. Yeah. Yep.
You know, it's all about how you set these things up.
Yeah.
So with a Tory MSP, with a Labour MSP, with a Labour peer, an SNP councillor, and an artist.
Yeah. That's right. That's a lot.
And this was supposed to be a by-election special.
Yep. You had nobody from the Tories, but the Greens could argue that one. The Greens could say they've got a bigger number of people.
Danny Wells for the Tories was on.
Sorry?
The Danny Wells on, but it was well no having her when she's only got 1 brain cell. She's worse than Bailey.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, but if that was a by-election special, they've stuffed the thing through with over-representation for the Labour Party.
Yeah.
They've misrepresented the Greens, and they have no representation for the Greens.
Yeah.
Who are running.
Yeah.
I believe. No representation for Reform. No representation there for the Lib Dems who are running.
Yeah.
I mean, what the fuck was that supposed to be about?
They could have at least replace the Labour peer with the lassie again from the Greens. That would have been at least a little bit fairer.
It would have been. It would have been. But you see, they're showing their bias, David, right through.
But by my reckoning, the number of people that are watching that programme, and we are talking about watching it live, watching it recorded, is down to around about 8,000 people.
Aye.
It's not a good deal.
No, it's not. Now, let's move on. 7 Tory councillors on the board and the borders quit the Tories, stating there's no enough scrutiny in local decision making.
Yes, they've all joined.
Wait a minute, these fuckers are making the decisions locally.
They've all joined the tribe called Novante.
Oh, 4 of them have joined the tribe called
Novante.
which was the name of a 2nd century tribe that lived in the area of Portland.
Yeah, that's right.
Novante. Now, we're seeing the Tory party disintegrate in front of our eyes here in Scotland. We've got the councillors walking the floor to reform left, right and centre.
Yeah.
7 of them quitting the party on block and the police in Galloway.
Yeah.
We are actually seeing the end of the Tory party here, probably.
Yeah, they're saying that not enough decisions have been made that are influenced by local politicians. At the time, I've got to say, that just marked the end of that party. Simple as that. They are no longer representative of the people of the area.
No. And obviously there'll be a bit of scrambling about trying to form coalitions to get a new council in place, which of course means that the civil servants in the council will do what civil servants in the council always do. They'll run things as usual.
That's right.
Well, the fucking idiots that have been elected play about it being elected.
Yeah, again, I'm entitled to this opinion. I know you argue with it. We need rid of these little tin gods, the councillors. We need rid of them.
I'm not going to. That's for you, David.
Yeah.
I don't even like your idea.
Yeah.
We're missing that one right out. Right, and apparently the election special was last week's programme, David.
Yeah.
Now, there you go.
No, hang on a second. Let's get it right. They talked about the election special, but they talked about this one being a night before an election. And right, the debate night should have had a fairer setup than having 2 Labour politicians.
Well, let's move on. Starmer, he's a speech yesterday morning. Good morning, Scotland. Did you hear it?
No, I didn't actually hear that. But from what I heard, it was the usual thing of, now is not the time.
No, that wasn't it. It was a flat. You're not getting one.
Aye. Yeah.
As long as he's Prime Minister, we're not getting one. Fortunately, it doesn't look as if fucking clown will be Prime Minister that long.
True.
But, while being interviewed, he makes it clear that nobody's talked to him about it.
And he's right.
Swinney's never broached the subject with him.
And he's right.
Apparently, according to Mr. Starmer yesterday, the SNP and the Labour government of Westminster are working collectively on the economy, security, jobs and energy.
Mm-hmm.
They're working collaboratively on that. And that these things are higher up the Scottish people's and the cost of living crisis, and these things are higher up the Scottish people's agenda than independence, according to Starmer.
Let's get a bit of reality into this. When you've got a First Minister who signs a week after week or comes on TV and he's got various quotes and all that, and he does not mention independence very much at all, right? And he never ever goes and says, right, Starmer, independence, what do we need to do to actually get an agreement off you to actually run a referendum, right? Then effectively what Starmer's going to do is he's going to say, well, yeah, nobody's asked me about it, so it's never ever going to be on. Something like that.
Well, anyway, Stephen Gethin sits back and says, that's a bit fucking arrogant. This is a decision for people of Scotland, not for Westminster.
And Stephen, God bless him for doing that, but it shouldn't have been him that did it. It should have been Swinney that did it.
Anyway, Deputy First Minister Kate Forbes also is a pop-up.
Yeah, but yet again, it shouldn't have been Kate Forbes. It should have been Swinney that did it.
And Starmer referred to Swinney and his 1997 statement. Well, that's the sort of levels of support he wants before he demands a referendum.
So it's 70, what?
74%. That was 97's result.
Yeah.
So that's what Swinney's looking at it to be in the ballpark in the opinion polls before he'll even consider it.
Yeah, but if John Swinney is
well, we can be rounding this fucking programme up for good. What's the point of fucking doing this if we're going to get a target at the end here?
Correct, okay. But the thing is, though, John Swinney is not going to actually come out and say to everybody, right, you lot, we need X amount, we get that X amount of support by a poll, and I'll tell you the polling companies we're going to go with, right? Then we will go for an independence referendum, or we will declare independence, whatever they're going to do. But he needs a firm plan, and he needs definitely independence front and centre.
The SNP are anti-independence according to Carter. I don't know who Carter is, but he's obviously no fucking fine intention.
Yeah, okay.
It just so happens it's no in John's agenda.
Yeah. Nobody's saying that.
At this point in time.
Nobody's saying.
As for being anti-Scottish, no, I don't think so. Look at the better social contract we have with the people of Scotland than what the people of London, people of England have with Westminster, or the people of Wales have with the Senate.
We are SNP. We're not anti-Scottish, so fuck off, right?
I know, David. Right, so Starmer's basically telling us no. He's also telling us that Swinney's not looking for a referendum.
Yeah.
And he also said that if the SNP are looking for a referendum and they get a majority in the next Parliament, they're not getting it. Has anyone of the SNP mentioned the poll on independence? And John Swinney is not the SNP, he does not set targets, it's the membership. Well, it's going to be brought to the flare first, isn't it?
That's right.
But you're right, he doesn't set the targets as members.
That's right.
The members are easily influenced like they were when Humza Yousaf wanted the basic give me the most MPs, and I'll call it. And we had MPs actually saying, no, you can't do that, when actually it's the only way out.
No.
Although, moving on, apparently the SSRG and the lawyers, the Swiss lawyers, have lodged the first set of paperwork with the United Nations Committee 24 to start the process for decolonising Scotland.
Now, we discussed this before coming on air, right? And I think your comment sort of bought the whole thing. How long is it going to take?
A generation.
What do you mean by
what's left of a generation since the last independence referendum? They claim a generation's 30 years long.
Right.
So 3 to 5 years to get all the paperwork into the committee.
Right.
However long it takes the committee to get the debate on the floor of the UN. Once the debate gets to the floor of the UN,
let's give them a year on that. So
a year or what?
A year to get it on the floor of the United Nations, right?
Well, it takes 3 to 5 years just to get it into the committee stage.
Yeah, 3 to 5 years into the committee, and then a year to actually, right, okay, we're going to have it on such and such a date, right? Okay.
Right.
4 years. What we're talking about in terms of the whole thing, getting the decision out of the UN?
Well, when it goes for debate on the flare, somebody will be asked to take up Scotland's case for decolonisation.
Yeah.
And it will only take one UN member state to take up Scotland's case for decolonisation.
Right.
And then...
Not an inconsiderable task in itself, by the way.
No, it's not.
So you've got to figure on that this is going to be a really, really good friend of Scotland.
Oh, and there is one stage we missed. That's if the committee doesn't reject it and then sends it forward to the UN for debate.
That's right.
So it could end up on the shelf in the UN for 5 or 6 years before it hits the flare.
That's right. Yeah.
In fact, at this point in time, the UN don't seem to debate anything except for what's going on in Israel and Gaza.
Yeah.
So let's say the committee passes it after 3-5 years of getting the paperwork processed. The committee passes it to the UN. However many years it takes the UN to call the debate on it.
Yeah.
And then one UN nation, registered nation, has to take up Scotland's cause. And then at that point, the process of decolonisation can begin.
Yeah.
Now that generally takes decades of negotiating with a state that the country that's to be decolonised leaves, right?
Let's get it right. And the process of colonisation ends up with a UN-run referendum.
Aye.
Right. Okay, so that referendum, we could be talking about 20 years away.
Yes.
Right. So, in actual fact, we are better going for everything we're going for now. Let the people in Liberation and Salva get Salvo continue doing what they're doing, right?
Now, Craig Murray has intervened when it comes to the decades to unwind, for the UN to force the state to decolonise Scotland.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Craig Murray says it could be done faster, it could be done in 10. They're not going to make it easy doing that road. They'll fight the UN hammer and nail.
That's right.
In fact, if they get that desperate with the way the fucking economy's going, they'd leave the UN before let Scotland leave.
That's right. Absolutely. Same as they're going to leave the other body we're going to talk about in a minute, right? But it's all desperation. It sounds to me like it's all desperation. It's desperation on our part as well. Our desperation is that we don't trust the people of Scotland enough to go, right, come on guys, we're having a referendum regardless of what these idiots say on the road. If they're going to do something, let them carry on. Do something, you know.
Just another iron in the fire, but the way things are going, we're still looking at 15, 20, 30 years away.
So, guys, if you're listening to this and you've got any way of figuring out in yourselves that I hope Liberation and Salvo manage to do all this now, is that how old are you? Think about it.
They don't have the documents to prove their union, though. That's not going to speed things up, Jim. We know that the union itself wasn't ratified by Westminster. We know that. But that's not going to speed things up. I say, the way we need to speed this up is pressure on the SNP and on the leadership.
Yeah.
It's the only way to speed this up. So, although it's nice that there's another iron or two in the fire, this one's still highly unlikely.
Yeah.
They're going to get through the committee stage.
Our money is still on the Grand Committee.
Aye, 2029 is the quickest way to do it.
Quickest way to do it. Grand Committee, get it up the road, that's it.
Right, let's move on, shall we? Time is moving on.
Believe it or not, the Grand Committee, before anybody argues with that, is the recognised government of Scotland. Devolved Parliament, one thing, but the recognised government of Scotland sit in MPs that we've got down in England, down in London.
That's right. And that's them all. Will it be Labour, SNP,
that's right.
Tory, whatever.
Hopefully, 2029, we end up with a good flock of SNP MPs sitting down there. But it's got to be, you're down there to settle up. You're not down there to settle in.
Right, let's move on. Reform UK in turmoil with infighting And chaos. Right. The chair of the party, what was his name again? Zia Yusuf. He called the new MP for Runcorn, can't remember their name off the top of my head. He calls her dumb for asking the Prime Minister in the flare of the House to ban the burqa.
Now I'll get you together. What's his name? Potion. As in whiskey. Yeah.
Right, okay.
So he called her, Sarah Potion was called dumb.
By the chair of the party, Zia Yusuf, who said it's not Reform UK's policy to ban the burqa.
Yeah.
But that's not the only problem they've got. The councillors they elected, 29 of them, as I spoke about this morning, have since had to resign or quit for various reasons. Turns out two of them weren't even qualified to qualify as councillors. One was a council employee, and the other one worked for the Ministry of Defence. So they've had to quit.
Yeah.
Wow. And but also there are two mayors. Now Richard Tice told the councillors and told the country, this is what we're going to do. You're going to divest in DEI, which is a diversity, equality and inclusion. We're going to scrap all flags apart from the St George's Cross. No county flags, no gay flags, no nothing, just the George's Cross. And they were to divest themselves from all green energy policies and partnerships. So what did the two mayors do this week? Sign up to green projects, citing jobs it would bring to their areas. All going well. And I hear that Kent has actually cancelled all council meetings and all committee meetings because the new councillors don't know what the fuck they're doing.
That's right.
So Kent at the moment is being run by council civil servants. Because Reform haven't got a fucking scooby what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, if you imagine that in amongst all of this article it's on about this last being dumb, right? You've actually got somebody asked on Twitter X about the party's position for the right wing. Katie Hopkins, that you remember, the evil fucking right wing blooming witch, right? Who insisted that a burqa ban must be a party policy. Yusuf above replied, nothing to do with me. Had no idea about the question, nor that it wasn't policy. Busy with other stuff. I'm washing my hair. There you are. I do think it's dumb for a party to ask the PM if they would do something the party itself wouldn't do.
Would not do, that's right.
The first time that the Reform UK High Command has found itself at odds with its own MPs.
Rubbish. What about Richard Lowe?
Yeah.
And that carry on.
Yeah.
So it's not the first time they've found themselves at odds with each other, not the last time.
No,
because what we witnessed with UKIP.
It says it's not the first time. Sorry, David, you quote it right. So, Rupert was removed from the party, folded after backing mass deportations. So, these people are nutters. They're nutters. All of them. They're nutters.
This morning, there's three fascists at the top of these parties doing that road, which brings it on to Badenoch. And she's decided to launch a commission to look into leaving the European Court of Human Rights.
Yeah.
And Starmer also wants to fuck about with human rights. As we were being told this morning with his immigration policy, he wants to crack down on the right to family life so that he can deport people who commit crimes in the UK that have a right to be here.
Right. The European Court of Human Rights, right?
Convention on Human Rights.
Convention for Human Rights, right? Sorry. Is it not the case? It should be, as far as I'm concerned, it should be an item that's got to be voted on by everyone in the UK.
No.
If you want to get rid of that convention, then surely you need to ask the people of the UK if they want rid of that convention, because it covers a lot of ground.
I know, but they don't have to ask nothing. They've got something called executive orders, or in their case, statutory instruments.
Yeah, statutory instruments. That's right.
You'd be lucky if Part 1 makes it out onto the floor of the House.
Yeah.
Because there doesn't seem to be any democracy left in the Parliament doing that.
Right. Well, okay. So, looking at it from that direction, and asking you in particular, if they haven't done it already, why haven't they done it? When Starmer says that effectively he wants to kick the Human Convention on Human Rights into touch.
He didn't say that. He said he wanted to clamp down on the right to family life to foreigners who, because that's the area of law they're using to stay in the country.
Yes, right, a right to family life. We know that, right? Right to have a fucking cat, as you've got, right? You know,
let's see, on Bigot Looney PLC. Sad thing is, the Gammons will still vote reform because they've got their blue passports. Thanks, John. Not even a legend, you're a star of the day.
Dear. Yeah, it's a good one. Thank you, John.
Right, so Starmer actually just wants to clamp down on the area that allows people who are here legally, or even though they've come in from other lands, when they commit a crime, to be deported. And he wants to clamp down on their right to go to the UK Supreme Court or to the European Court in Human Rights to protect their status in the UK because of the right to family life. That's what Starmer wants to stamp down on.
Yeah, so therefore, if he effectively used a statutory instrument to quash that, he can do what he likes.
He could now avoid that area of human rights.
So if that's his intention, why hasn't he done it already? That's what I want to know. I don't know the answer, but why hasn't he done it already?
It's only just been declared that this is what they plan to do.
He's been thinking about that for a while.
I don't know, because it was in the Daily Field, David. You can't take much through the Daily Field.
Yeah.
You know, it says battle lines drawn, Badenoch this, Starmer that.
Yeah.
Badenoch was on about Rwanda again.
Yeah.
And
don't forget, they're all waiting on Nigel coming along and telling them what the next policy is.
Aye, when it comes to this stuff. Anyways, Starmer's want to clamp down on people who are here legally using the right to a family life to stay here in the event that they should be deported or they could be deported for a criminal offence. So
these are human beings. Okay, if they're criminals, I sort of agree with that. If they've been bad people, right? I go, right, okay, fair enough. But the majority of times they're not bad people, and they're just being shoved at the door as quick as they can. That's wrong. Of course it's wrong. Human beings.
Well, as I say, that's what they're talking about. And when you get right down to it, we know that they're all going to fuck with our human rights. They all want a British Bill of Rights. They all want complete control.
Oh, fuck's sake, man.
They're fucking fascists. Right, let's move on. Rachel Reeves says more people to receive the winter fuel payment. We were talking about this earlier this morning in the papers when they were speculating on how this was going to be done, David. And I said, okay then, I'll go and have a look and see what they're talking about. Guess what? There's no flesh on the bone to this at all. They're still just looking at it.
Nigel hasn't told them what to do yet.
Nigel's not told them what to do yet.
Yeah. What he said is he's going to restore the winter fuel payments, right? But he hasn't put any meat in the flesh on the bones, right?
right.
So, consequently, they're all waiting to see what Nigel comes away with, to see what they're going to do, right? But in amongst it all, we decided, hang on a second, what they're going to do is they're going to say, if you've got benefits, then you're included. Yeah?
Aye, it's going to be means tested. It looks like they're either going to raise the threshold of how much you can have before you get pension credit.
But correction, not means tested. Means testing is expensive. If you've got a cohort of population that you can go, we're going to attach it onto those, then that's cheap because you've effectively
got that information. That's right. So there's a couple of ways they can do it.
Yep.
But we'd be as bad as the papers if we're just speculating. Folks, we said we'd go and have a look after Reeves had said that more people would get it. After Starmer says they're looking at it again. As I say, Rachel Reeves made the announcement yesterday that more people would get it. And I thought, right, okay, they must have put some meat in the bones in this.
We got a number yet. How much does that cost? In Scotland, did you figure out how much it's actually cost the winter fuel payments?
No, I haven't.
The actual numbers. We must find that out, because at the end of the day, it's like it might not be such a massive number as we all think.
Well, if they take the way that the papers were speculating this morning by only awarding it to those who've got disability and housing benefit, then it's only an extra maybe million people. So it's went from 11 million down to 1 million.
Yeah.
Add in those who have since applied for pension credit, so about 1.25 million, 1.5 million. And then add in those with disability and housing benefit, there's about another 1 million. So there's still going to be 8-9 million people out there not getting a winter fuel payment anywhere.
Right. And it was, if I remember correctly, when I got it, it was 300 quid, I think I got.
No, you're too young to get 300 quid. You'd have been getting 70 quid.
No, I got 300 quid.
The 300 quid was for the 80s, over 80s. You're not over 80.
How do you know? I might lie about my age.
But I may apply to other groups like these with disabilities as well. I may get 300, David. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I know that the 70s to 80-year-olds gets 200.
Aye.
You know. And now here in Scotland, because we decided we were going to keep a winter fuel payment, they all get 100 quid because that's all we can afford them we're in.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
But don't get me wrong, if they do allow a few more people into the scheme, it means there's more money coming forward for the Barnett formula. It'll make it easier for us to mitigate it.
Yes.
But that word there again, isn't it? Fucking mitigate.
Right, the Barnett formula, is that what Nigel has said he's going to get rid of?
Anyway, talking about the spending review and a £22 billion black hole. In the last week, the Labour Party have announced £20 billion worth of spending.
Yes.
15 billion was announced yesterday for transport infrastructure in England alone.
Yep. So how are they doing that on top of a 22 billion black hole?
Aye. And another 5 billion for defence.
Have they been lying to
22 billion black hole?
Have they been lying to us all this time, David?
No.
Do you think?
No,
they couldn't.
They would tell us lies. It wasn't as if we were already pointing out there wasn't a fucking £22 billion black hole in the past. And then they tell us that, oh no, it was 9. Well, you'll be able to tell us, no, it was 9 billion. 9 billion, my arse. 9 billion is nothing. Hello, Bank of England. Plug that black hole. Thanks very much. Bye now. What fucking nonsense. Absolute nonsense. But so apparently we're all skint, but there's no money to alleviate poverty. Plenty of money for transport infrastructure. There aren't.
Yeah. We've got nuclear
weapons. Being awfully generous today, so yes, sir. There's no such thing as illegal immigrants, just economic migrants, refugees, always welcome in Scotland.
Has he come home with too much money? He's not spent enough abroad. It's all right.
Who?
John.
I don't know. Truck drivers earn good money, David. Did I tell you that?
What?
I tell you truck drivers earn good money.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate they do.
I know a wee bit about it myself, you know. So, the Labour Party are on a spending spree in the hope of getting economic growth. And actually, the infrastructure programmes is the way to do it.
Yeah, but it's the lying about it. Why do we have to have the lies? Why don't they just say, right, tell you what we're going to do, guys. We're going to fix the roads. And we know that a lot of you aren't experts on fixing roads. We're going to teach you. And it'll take a month or two to actually teach you how to actually take a shovel and lift up some stuff and put it into a hole, right? That's fine. That's okay. But we're going to do that right the way throughout the UK. Nice with that.
Have you ever done any groundwork?
Never. Not
Right,
once.
you can tell with what you just talked about to pull a pothole.
Sorry, I once did 1 foot of concrete for a camera tour. That was it.
Aye.
And that was a case of stood there going, oh, that's pretty good. Somebody at JCB is going to do that. All right, fine, okay.
Groundwork's no easy. It's no easy. That's why they keep coming back. Falling a pothole's not a good idea. Ripping up a section of road and relaying it properly.
What country in the world is it that's got roads that never end up with potholes?
Germany, they're made of concrete.
Correct. Absolutely. But there is new. Just taking away aside for a second, right? There are new forms of building roads, and what they do is they use old tires, granulated tires, right? And it means that the impact of the car tire, the wheel on the road,
bouncy.
right? Yeah,
Makes it sort of bouncy.
yeah.
Aye, it also makes it sound funny.
Don't care about noise. Don't care about you can deal with noise.
When you're on tarmac, there's a sound that you recognise with your wheels. When you hit concrete or when you hit this bloody plastic stuff, different noise.
Yeah, I know.
Different noise altogether. So when you say Reeves is on a spending spree,
yeah,
while starving kids, freezing grandma, and kicking the disabled.
yeah.
Why don't we just feed the kids, unfreeze grandma, raise the disabled up to a level with the rest is, and then we'll worry about infrastructure.
Yeah, and obviously if there's any costs involved, send them the bill. Just send them a bill, right? And also, while we're on about it, right, reopen Grangemouth as a proper refinery, right? And yet again, no matter what that costs, just send them the bill. Simple as that. Let's go for it. I love the idea of doing that.
Still owns the Grangemouth, so you can't do that. It's private property.
So get the Scottish Government to say, we are claiming that. We're compulsorily purchasing.
Anyone is still running the facility.
So all it would cost is 60 million?
To update that refinery, yes, 60 million.
Yeah, so there you go. There you are. I mean, Ratcliffe has got his money, so you can build another refinery. And where is it?
Belgium. $300 million for winter fuel expenditure here in Scotland, apparently.
Is that right? Okay. Yeah. So send them a bill. Guys, reinstate it. Send them a bill.
Well, as I say, with Ineos you can't, because Ineos is still using the facility. They're still using the facility as a storage area.
Right. So therefore, what happens is, in comes the Scottish Government with some real cojones and says, no, that's ours. We're taking that. See how you guys are working, right? If you don't want to work for us, that's fine. You fuck off, right? If you want to have a wage slip next week or the week after that, then come with us and we're going to actually take over the entire thing. And then send them the bill. Send Westminster the bill.
You know, I really said that you want to send them a bill or no. Ineos is no moving. It's their facility. They own the land.
Yeah, compulsory purchase.
Still see, that'll spend the next 10 years in court, eh?
That's fine. But in the next 10 years, we'll still have the operation
Right, let's move on.
working refinery.
No, we
Right?
won't.
Why
Because
not?
dismantling the refinery part of it.
I'm sure we can get some big
Let's
rough
move on.
actually being
Right,
standard.
David, let's move on. There's no point in talking about things that are not going to happen. Things we're not going to do and things we legally can't do.
But I'm entitled to my opinion.
You
End
are.
of story.
You are. Now,
Right.
Trump tariff chaos continues. But apparently the UK has got lucky because rather than us being hit with an extra 25%, the 25% tariff will stay here, whereas Europe will get hit with a 50% tariff. I think Trump's trying to crash the US economy. What do you think?
It's a difficult one. You've got to, I think there's a lot of it to do with Trump's character, his wish to stay as the man in control of everything, right? Yeah, he's a POTUS, President of the United States. Effectively, that means that he's got all the power to do X, Y, Z, right? And I'm sure that he wakes up each morning and goes, what can I do to rattle a few more feathers?
Well, that was yesterday morning. Guess what he done this morning? I'll get to it in a minute after John McGoran.
Yeah.
Thank you, John. Once again, you've been very generous, my friend. Also in Germany, if there's a faulty pothole in the road, they don't just fill it. They lay a full new section of the road. They actually bring it in the back of a lorry, John. Lift the old section out and drop a new section in.
And also, they've got a really nice policy of whereby you cannot take in industrial vehicles on the road on Sunday. Yeah, effectively, it means you can get about. It means that families can get about and all the rest of it, the weekend, blah blah blah, all the rest of it, without big articulated lorries and all the rest of it on the roads.
Well, technically, they can run this Saturday, but they don't. They get the road at 2200 on a Friday, and they don't take up work again until a Monday. So, if you're delivering in Germany and it's Friday when you get there, park up on Monday.
In Germany, for years, decades and decades, a good economy. So there's never any. Yeah. Okay.
Now, guess what the madman did this morning?
Go on then. I know what he did, so I'm gonna let you talk.
Well, let me get to it. Where was I? He banned.
Are you looking for the actual?
I'm looking for the graph again, David, but I can't fucking find it.
Yeah, it was really good as well.
I'll really find it. Where are we? World. Right, I'll get this up now, folks. Have to get into world politics. Let's get down to this graph. No, I'll put this one up instead. Anyway, Trump's battered travel embargoes on 12 countries.
Yes.
And he has put tighter visa restrictions on a further 7. The other graph they had up with taken down, but I'll put this one up. So why has he banned these countries? Well, the 12 he banned, they said they're a risk. And they're the ones in red, travel to US ban.
Yeah.
They're the ones he says are a risk to national security. So you've got Sierra Leone, restrictions, tighter visa restrictions. You've got Togo, tighter visa restrictions. Libya, Chad, Sudan, Eritrea, Yemen, Somalia, Iran, Laos has got more restrictions. Myanmar's got a travel ban. Haiti's got a travel ban. Venezuela, Cuba tighter restrictions. Now, the ones that have been banned are seen as a risk to the US national security. The ones that have got tighter visa conditions. Apparently, these are the countries where visitors come to the United States and violate visa conditions more often than not. Okie dokie. So
don't forget, on that list for the visa thing is Venezuela. Venezuela is reported to be the largest stockholder of oil underground in the entire world.
Right. Now, David, we're running out of time. You wanted specifically to talk about this one, so BBC
not massive importance, but at the end of the day, it's like the amount of BBC protests that you and I have been attending and all the rest of it. It's just nice to see them suddenly get something rather ironic, like the reporter in Syria held at gunpoint along with several other correspondents by the IDF, Israeli Defense Force in Syria, right? And the BBC were, if you imagine, they were the most vocal about October the 7th and Hamas and all the rest of it. And they're a friend to Israel that they were, over and over and over again. And then one of their correspondents gets held. Strip search.
Aye.
Strip as well, you know.
Aye, good. How humiliating. But we should tell people why they're in Syria. They're surrounding the West Bank for when they take that out.
Yeah. Yes.
Anyway, and of course they're annexing areas of Syria.
And China, a political 14 times Israel, right? Similar as that. So
we talk about a friends of Israel. Why don't we tell them who sent a delegation to Israel? That last week, was it? Last week? This week?
Last week.
Labour's Friends of Israel, a delegation of Labour MPs. I thought Starmer and Lamy no stood up and criticised Israel, say they were going to bring in sanctions.
Yes.
Said they were stopping trade talks. The next day, they're trade envoys in fucking Israel. This week, they've got Labour Friends for Israel and Israel with their MPs. You ever get the feeling you're getting the wool pulled over your eyes, folks?
Oh, to be honest with you, this is one situation that makes me truly sick. I'm really, really, truly sickened by about the idea of these people. They were there and they were photographed by what's the guy?
These folks.
Prime Minister.
170 is watching.
Right. This includes John Pearce, as well as fellow Labour MPs Kat Eccles, Kevin McKenna, Peter Prinsley, Mark Sewards, and Labour peer Lucinia, right? Lucinia Berger, right? They were, you know, Israel's actions in Gaza have been described as genocide by leading international experts, including Amnesty International, UN Special Rapporteur to the occupied Palestinian territories, Francesca Albanese, and the UN Special Committee on Investigating Israel's action in Palestine. The International Court of Justice also said there is a plausible risk of Palestinians' right to be protected from genocide being violated. But this didn't stop the Labour MPs from smiling and being pictured with a host of Israeli officials over the course of the 4-day delegation. 4 fucking days! What they had to do in 4 days, I don't know. They probably probably did all that sort of stuff, right? Okay. And they were actually pictured with President Isaac Herzog, the guy that used to sign all the fucking bombs that are being sent across to kill men, women, and children in Gaza.
As I say, folks, we tell you we're getting gaslighted by Lamy and Starmer. This is another example of it. And remember, they're still doing surveillance flights over Gaza on behalf of Israel.
Right.
They're still selling them arms, still giving them diplomatic cover, and still giving them money.
Yeah, and still giving them parts for F-35s so they can go and drop the bombs on things that will break down Britain's there when parts are coming for the F-35s. Seriously, this is not on. Really not on. We need to show Westminster the fucking door. No mind just the whole of Westminster. Time for independence, independence, independence.
I'm glad you got that in at this point in time, and I'm glad you left it to the end this time, alright, because we're just winding it up. It's 5:05, David. I want to thank everybody for their contributions today. David, put that down and don't be rude. You're not a bloody teenager playing with your phone.
I'll be able to let a fucking teenager.
I don't want to expect to scold you like a fucking Wade. Who's the legend?
Sat at his little table. Put that phone down, you.
Hello.
Double glazing again.
Somebody trying to sell my mortgage bill, looks here.
Right.
Right, folks. Keep your eyes on the prize. The prize today is tomorrow's headline, whether it's a by-election win or no. The big prize at this point in time is the 2026 election. The main prize is Scottish independence. Yeah. Thanks to the moderators for moderating. Thanks to everybody who's made a kind contribution today. And thanks for getting the likes up to over 100, folks. If you haven't hit the like button, hit the like button and away out the door. It helps the algorithm, and that helps raise funds for food banks. Okay. Share across your social media platforms.
Anybody's give us a donation. Yeah, thank you. Very much.
And I am on getting the last this month's grants out the door, folks. As you know, I sometimes struggle in getting people to take money off us. That's why I've just been jumping in my car this time. But obviously, as we get further away from where I live, we need to get back to the phones again. And it is getting bloody hard work. You would think after 3 years of this, people would have heard these, David.
Yeah, I know. David, any day, you've no control over the way people will react to things, right? And certainly, in terms of getting money, you think if you stood there, somebody at a bus stop, and you go, I'm going to give you 250 quid. They go, thank you very much. Instead, what you're getting is you're getting, all right, fair enough. We need to get Johnny to give you a call. We
call back.
It's pointless. Really is stupid.
Right, say goodbye, David, and I'll go and schedule Monday's programme for this particular show.
Hi, Sarah.
Madam Director has spoken. Have a nice evening. I'll catch you tomorrow morning for the last one of the week. David will be back Monday afternoon. When do you go on holiday, David?
It's a couple of weeks. I nearly wasn't. My passport is that.
I know.
But anyway, guys, thank you very much. All right.
Anyway, folks, as I say, on that week that he's away, the wee afternoon show won't be a morning show. Okay. See you tomorrow morning, 10:30. Don't be late on the naughty stuff. Bye for now.
Bye, guys.